Santana. Ron, are you okay?
The man put it back, sir.
Calm down. Breathe, Ron. Breathe.
The man that's from the motorcycle.
What did the bad man do,
The
Ron?
motorcycle on the bridge. I hit him with a burrito.
Ron.
He took him with his foot, and he kicked him. That's what he did.
Someone punted him?
No, wait, let me say something. Let me say something.
What? I didn't understand a one word you said. Ron, are you okay? Ron. Ron, where are you?
I'm in a glass case of emotion.
Hello everyone, my name is Emily Ninja and I am a student at Luther Seminary in the same program as Lisa and a very close and good friend to her. When she asked me to share with you guys tonight, I feel so humbled and honored that she thought of me. I also, when she shared what you guys would be doing for this week, I immediately thought of one of my favorite passages, which is Jeremiah 29:11. Let me just read it for you guys in the NRSV. And it says, "For surely I know the plans that I have for you, says the Lord, plans for your welfare and not for harm, to give you a future with hope." This honestly has been one of the most anchoring passages for me in the past maybe 7 years or so. I'm a refugee and I immigrated from my mother country, which is Democratic Republic of Congo, and moved to Uganda, where I lived for 15 years as a refugee.
2000 is when we first became official refugees. I moved from my country, Democratic Republic of Congo, and it was a lot of political issues. My late uncle, who was very involved in a lot of human rights stuff, kind of just got in trouble with these politicians. So our entire family had to move to Uganda, all me and my brothers and him and his entire family. As a kid, it was just like, we're going on a trip. It didn't feel anything other than we're going on a trip. It's going to be a fun trip. And, that lasted 15 years.
During that time, a lot of things and events happened in my life. I sadly lost my uncle, who was a father figure to me and my entire siblings. During those 15 years, we were separated too, with half of my family, so my cousins, my uncle's family, moved around 2004, they got resettled to Canada, and they've been living there ever since. And my mother and I and my three brothers remained in Uganda.
During those years, we would interview for different countries, and sometimes those countries would reject your case, and they would say they don't have space, or they just don't feel like your case is priority. Sometimes they would wake up at 4 a.m. to go to the offices and just wait to hear back, wait to just receive. We had given up. We're okay, this is never gonna happen. And so we're kind of starting to figure out different ways to just live life in Uganda. And my mom gets this call from one of her friends. Your name was posted on the people who USA is going to interview. We're like, what? Our interviews happen, and then everything starts happening, and I'm like, oh my God, it's actually happening. Our mom and our little brother come, and me, Thierry, and Yannick stay behind.
At that time, this was a good thing for me because I needed to graduate, and graduation was going to happen in October. And if I could make it to October, then I could get to my graduation, and I could finish all the other requirements for graduation too. So I was really grateful that I got to stay. But the problem that happened is that 2017 comes to a close, and a new president is elected in the United States, and that president, one of the first things that president intends to do is close the borders for all people who are coming in, who are not American citizens, which I wasn't one. And me and my brother are still in Uganda, and my mother is getting ready to have heart surgery because she had a bad heart and needed immediate surgery. And she was the only thing that was stopping them from doing that was because she was waiting for us. And that was a scary time because I love my mother. My mother is my home, and I always think of wherever she is, that's where I want to be. But Lisa asked me recently why, at that time, I was going through my mind. And even though I never thought about it, the thing that I remember that I told her that day was, it's actually because I had trust. I trusted God. I trusted that God's plan for my life was a good plan. And whether it be in the United States or if it be in Uganda, I knew that it was going to be a good plan. It was going to suck, but I'm not going to be with my mother. But that God had a plan, and that plan was going to be a good one. And it was going to involve something in a form, whichever form that it came in, it was going to be good. And so this is why I think Jeremiah 29 is such a strong and powerful scripture for me. And I honestly don't know if I never thought that I would ever be in seminary to become a pastor. Like years ago, somebody told me that, and I actually laughed. I laughed so much, and I was like, don't even mention that. And here I am, and it's been so good for my soul, my spirit, and everything. I've met so many wonderful people. So again, I think that just reminds me, it's such a huge reminder of how sometimes I have these plans and these grand, huge, amazing plans that I have, but the world throws me in a completely different direction. But that God has, God's got me, and that in whichever direction the wind blows and takes me at a certain time, that there's a plan, and it's going to be that plan, God's plan for my life is good. It's up and down, and it's going to be good, and sometimes it's going to be sad, but that at the end of the day, God's love for me is tremendous, and God's grace accompanies me in this crazy journey of life, and I trust that so deeply and truly. And I honestly hope that you're able to find that at some point, or even have it right now. And I'm really excited and looking forward to see where your life journeys lead you. And I'm grateful to be even just a 5-minute part of this journey for you. May God bless and keep you, and anchor you in this life journey that you're on. Thank you, and peace.
The Hebrew people are stuck. In the 14th chapter of the book of Exodus, they are stuck, and it's not their fault. The Hebrew people were slaves in the land of Egypt. When God set them free through the leadership of Moses, they have marched out of Egypt, and in that moment, for the first time in their lives, they are free. When they think about the future, there's actually possibilities there. And then it happens. They look up and they see the armies of Pharaoh coming after them. Pharaoh had a change of heart. He sent his chariot and chariot drivers, the greatest army in the history of the world at this point, to destroy the Hebrew people. They can't run. If they go forward, they will drown in the Red Sea. If they go back, they will be killed by the armies of Pharaoh. The Hebrew people, they are stuck. We all get stuck one time or another. It happens at every age of our life, at every stage of our life. In different ways, we get stuck. For some people, it's one moment you experience freedom. You're graduating from college, surrounded by a host of friends. You've got a diploma in your hand that's going to give you the ability to have a wonderful job and change the world. And the next moment, you wake up and you realize you feel lonely. You're disconnected from all those friends. The job that you did find isn't what you thought it would be. And the possibility of changing the world seems like a distant memory. Or maybe it's you have a child. You become a mom or a dad, and you look at this child and you hold that child close and you think about all the things you're going to do as a parent. You're going to take the best of what your parents did for you. You're going to include all those things, but you're going to do so many other things as well. You have all these grand ideas. And then you blink your eyes, and the next thing you know, your child is 16 or 17 years old, And you wonder, where did the time went? And what happened to all those dreams I had, all those things we were going to do, and now you try to change those things, you try to implement some of them, but it just doesn't work. There's too many forces outside of your control, too many basketball games, too many band concerts, too many things at work where you're just being pulled and you're stuck. That happens. It happens at every stage. It happens at every age of our lives that we just get stuck. Sometimes it's forces beyond our control. Sometimes it's decisions we make. Oftentimes it's a combination of the two. But the point is, God's people get stuck. And when that happens, we listen to what the Hebrew people do, because this is our temptation as well. They grow bitter. They turn to Moses and they lament, Moses, why did you bring us out of Egypt to die here in the wilderness? They grow bitter. They blame Moses. That's the temptation. But in the midst of this situation, Moses says to them, do not be afraid, stand up, and you will see the Lord's deliverance. Now, on one hand, those words are silly. I mean, they're foolish. Do not be afraid. Moses, it's the army of Egypt coming after them. Oh, of course we should be afraid. Stand up. No, when the chariots roll in, we should fall down to the ground. Do not be afraid. Stand up. See the Lord's deliverance. They look one way. They see the Red Sea. They look the other way. They see the armies of Egypt. It doesn't make any sense, and then it happens. No sooner had Moses stopped talking when a great pillar of fire descended from the sky, separating the Egyptians from the Hebrew people. And then the wind, the Spirit, the pneuma of God falls upon the earth, and it tears apart the Red Sea. And the Hebrew people march across dry ground. Because friends, that's what God does. When God's people are stuck in big ways and in small ways, God sets us free. So whatever has you stuck this day, do not be afraid. I don't mean to minimize whatever it is that you're wrestling with. Just know this, that it might be big to you, but for the God who parts the Red Sea and raises the dead, whatever has you stuck this day, I can assure you, God is greater, God is stronger. Do not be afraid, and stand up. Take that first step towards whatever it is that you need to experience. For some people, if you're stuck in loneliness, take a step towards community. If you're stuck in bitterness, take a step towards reconciliation. Whatever it is that you're stuck at, take that next step that you need to take. Do not be afraid, stand up and see the Lord's deliverance, because as you take those steps, you will finally look back at your life and see that God is at work in all of those little steps, because this is what God does. God sets us free from whatever has us stuck so we can experience the freedom that God desires for us.